How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything nerd and geek related. In this segment, we are going to be doing a topic for knowing that artist. And this time, we're doing something a little different. I am now also adding makeup artists to the lists. So be sure to look forward to seeing many makeup artists talk about what they do, or even, show what they do. And for the first guest for this knowing that artist segment, I'm joined here by Vespid. How are you doing tonight, Vespid?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk about art.
So again, thank you for wanting to come on and also being the first makeup artist guest. For those who maybe watching this, basically, if the artist wants to do makeup on themselves, it can be anything nerd or geek related, TV show, anime, their OC, whatever, full face paint, stuff like that. So prosthetic, special effects, you name it. So again, thank you for coming on.
Of course.
So how long have you been doing makeup for?
See, I knew you were going to start with that question, and I was trying to think like, where did it start? Because like I've been drawing since I can hold a pencil. And then I started playing around with makeup, in my teens, but I didn't do it for, other than looking pretty. And then I think it's in community college, like that's whenever I started getting inspired by like theater makeup application. Like I love the special effects and, just completely transforming how a person looks. So I've been doing makeup with the intent of like, the art and creativity side for at least 10 years, I think, at this point. So been doing it for a long time.
That sounds like you've definitely been doing it for a long time. I will have to say though, before I ask more questions, I think your the Mass Effect makeup you've done, is that on yourself or friends of yours?
That so some of it's on myself and some of it is on friends. I think I started doing the character makeups exclusively on myself because I started doing that during lockdown. So I only had myself. And then once everyone started getting vaccinated, I was just like, I think to grow as an artist, like I need to put makeup on other people's faces. And I hate the feeling of makeup on my own face. So
it's like if you can find someone who's willing to want to sit down for who knows how long, and,
exactly.
and hey, I feel like in a way, it's just makeup is just like art, and the person's face, body is a canvas. So
that's exactly how I view it. And I love that, like, I've kind of quote perfected the technique of like putting makeup on my own face because I have my own like features memorized and like what looks good. But I love working with like different face shapes and skin tones and experimenting with color to like see, like take a design that I kind of have in my head and then adapting it and fitting it to someone else's face. It's a very fun like and challenge. It's a fun challenge, and it's like been pushing me creatively. I'm really enjoying it.
And there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So when did you like start doing makeup on yourself? Like what made you decide, hey, one day that you wanted just to paint on your face or body or whatever to see what that was like?
On myself, I think because the first special effects application I did was like senior year of high school, and I loved that. That's that reptile image. I don't know if you saw.
I remember one of the photos you sent me to pick for a thumbnail.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the first makeup I was ever proud of, I think. And then remind me of the question because my Adderall has worn off at this point, so my ADHD is bouncing around.
So what was your very first makeup that you did on yourself?
Oh yeah, I think it was definitely that one if we're talking about like creative application. Because like whenever I was like 15, 16, I was doing makeup, but it was the early 2000s style makeup where I just put on some blue eyeshadow and some thin eyeliner and made my eyebrows look as small as possible. So so that would be gosh, I mean, it would be more I'm just gonna say 10 years because that sounds about right. But I don't think I got serious about it, or like not even serious, but I think I got passionate about it and rediscovered my love for it once in community college because I met someone who was working in theater, and so I was able to practice with them, and that's how I got to do like, I was actually hired on a couple of like local community theater sets where I was doing special effects makeup for them, which was really fun. It
And
made
what
me
way of
realize,
getting your foot in the door?
yeah, I mean, it was great. I loved doing the art of it, but I learned that working in a theater is actually not for me. It's the type of personality and the pressure, I guess, because like I was hired as a makeup lead at one point, and I was way too young to be a makeup lead. And it was just like too much responsibility all at once. And it made me just go, you know what? I don't think I want to do this for money. It's taking the enjoyment out of it for me. I don't like the pressure.
Well, I mean, you know,
Um,
you're also timed too and everything. You're given a certain amount of time to get
yes,
like this makeup amount of done on all the
exactly.
models
Like
and our actors and
for,
everything.
for that one production, like there were three main characters that I had to get done before everybody else. And I would have to show up to the theater like at 5 a.m. to like get started just because it took so long to do the applications on everybody. I was just like, this is actually not fun, working this hard. But yeah, and so like during that time, I can't even remember like what I was doing on myself. I think I was mainly working on other people. And then I dropped it for a long time because I went and got my biology degree. And then just in the past, 3 years, I did that. What did I start with? Oh, I started with the insect looks on myself, actually. And that actually was more than 3 years ago. Like that wasn't during lockdown. It was like a one-off series I did where I took 3 different insects that I loved and I made like bug looks on my face. And that must have been about 5 years ago.
That's
Um,
pretty insane.
yeah, did I send you those? I may or may not have.
Yeah, I remember you sending me some. What was the very first bug you did on your face?
Um, I want to say, oh, it's the so it's called a stonefly. And I specifically took the reference from a stonefly larva, and it's like oranges and golds and browns, kind of almost warrior looking face makeup where instead of emphasizing the eyes, like I just made it really dark around the eyes, and then I had like patterns on my nose and like cheeks.
For anyone who wanted to know what a stonefly looks like that's what a
There
stonefly
it is.
looks like.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's pretty cool.
it's an aquatic insect. I love aquatic insects.
So what would you say the biggest makeup you've done on yourself was, whether it's full on face paint or full like on body paint, if you can remember?
Oh, I do know, because it's the reason I don't want to do body paint on myself ever again. um, I would like think about maybe doing a full like body paint on somebody else, but I hate doing it to myself. But I love the character Peridot from
From
Steven Universe.
yeah, I've seen that one.
Yes, yes. And like I know how to sew and make costumes, but I don't like the sewing part at all. And so I knew there was a way to like not paint your whole body by making arm socks out of like it's like,
Nylons.
oh yeah, colored nylon or whatever. I was like, well, I'm better at just painting myself, so I'm just going to do that every time I get into cosplay. So gosh, I started doing that like, the first time I ever cosplayed Peridot, and the paint looked fine, but the feeling of having body paint all over your arms and your face and your neck, and then being at a convention where you're being social, it was very trying. Did not like that, but because of my body paint application, I was able to actually do some panels like about like I was encouraged to go to cons and like share my body paint styling, because I like to pair both like beauty makeup application and body paint, because if you just do body paint, it can look really flat. And so I'm passionate about like adding on that extra layer to like really bring your character to life. And so like I had fun doing it for a while, and then I realized it was just, again, so much work. Might as well not really do that. But yeah, but I think that's like the biggest one I've done is Peridot.
I mean,
Sure.
it's a lot of, I mean, at least you only had to paint your arms and your face.
Yes, and
How
that still took forever. um, I know some, cosplayers who like they do like full, body paints on themselves, and I'm just like, I'm I have ADHD, which is neurodivergent. Like I have sensory issues. I get overwhelmed by sensations pretty quickly. And so like even just the arms and the face and the neck, I felt very trapped by the paint. I could feel it just all the time.
Oh, man. But still, how many hours or minutes did it take you to paint your arms and face for Peridot?
I'm trying to remember like how early I would get up before everybody else on like a con day. I want to say the arms themselves, because like because I had to have someone help me with the back of my neck every time. But I would get up in the morning and start on my arms. And I mean, the arms took at least an hour, depending on how quickly I was moving. And then the face took longer because I was also adding, beauty makeup on top. So like the whole application would take like 3 to 4 hours. And like I think other people that, are professionals at this could do it faster, but that's about how long it would take for me. So 4 hours, I would typically have to get up pretty early.
Oh, geez. It's quite a bit that's quite a long time because like, and even like your most professional, when they're working on a single person, it could take, again, a long time. But they
Yeah.
also like the ones who work on movies and TV shows, they have like a 3-4 people working on one person, especially if
Yeah.
there's like prosthetics involved.
Yeah, that's the thing is like you watch the TV shows where they do the makeup applications and it's all cut, for enjoyment purposes. You don't realize how long it actually takes just to put a base layer down. And that's just the first step.
Before we move on, how many layers did it take? How many layers of green body paint did it take for Peridot?
So I used a water-based paint, which doesn't do well with multiple layers of actual paint. So like maximum I would paint on like 2 layers of the paint itself. And typically the second layer was just like very carefully laying on top anywhere that wasn't solid enough. And so that was just the base layer. And it was like, you have to be careful with water-based paint because whenever you go over dry paint with wet paint, you can actually just pull the other layer off. So you have to be super careful. So like, it's typically just the one layer that's the green. And then I would layer a green and yellow powder on top, and that would fill in anything else that was missing. And then a spray coat on top of that, like a fixative, like a Mayron setting spray. And then typically I would put powder on top of that because otherwise it would feel like sticky and stiff. So
Mayron is a very good brand.
oh yeah, I loved it.
I had Mayron used once on me when I went my sister did my makeup one time, had me went as Ice King Simon from Adventure Time.
Oh, amazing. That's so cool.
Now on to, ever use prosthetics on yourself or anyone else before?
Yeah, I've done some prosthetics. The first prosthetic I ever did on myself, which actually I don't have any pictures from because before college, like I deleted my whole Facebook out of embarrassment because I didn't want anyone to see my cringy teen photos. But I did an application, or like I was working with another makeup artist and he helped me with the application, doing like made it look like your throat was like cut open.
Yeah, the good old fashioned throat slit.
Yeah. And that was super fun because then we got to pour fake blood on my neck. And that was just a good time. And then I did the, lizard look, which was just a very basic, like, using cotton and layering the liquid latex on top to sort of sculpt the scales and little horns. And then using just either paint or eyeshadow or a mixture of both to add in more depth to it. So I did just very like a basic light application and then like enhanced it with shadows and highlights with the makeup. And then I did for that makeup for that production that I was a makeup lead on, I did my original concept for one of the characters was sort of half dragon, half like beautiful lady with like kind of dark gothic makeup. And I went through the whole process, like back and forth with the model and the managers of the production, and I went to apply it, and I applied it for practice on a friend first to see how quickly I could do it. And then I got to sit down with the model to do a practice application, and I started applying, and she said, "Is this latex?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, I'm allergic to latex. We can't do this." And she started crying.
Oh no.
So that was great. So I've other than that, like, I think that scared me away from applying prosthetics to anybody else. I haven't had a lot of like practice outside of that. I really want to get back into it though, because I've talked to some other cosplayers about some like fun projects to try out with making looks more 3D. So most of what I've done though is just mostly liquid latex work. Like I haven't gone much beyond that.
Now, don't anyone at me on this. If you're a model and you're wanting to get your like body painter done, make sure you let your makeup artist know that if you have a latex allergy or not.
Please.
And that actually answers my question. You actually answered my question about if, when you worked on models, ever had like any difficulty or any kind of interesting situation when dealing with the model, they weren't happy with the makeup or anything.
I mean, so that's the most, the one that sticks in my head the most. But hold on, my brain's catching up. Hold on, let's go.
You're fine.
But yeah, since then, like I really haven't had a lot of or really any bad experiences, or even like out of the ordinary experiences, or anybody being like, "I absolutely hate this, please take this off my face." Because at the very beginning, like before I even like, and first time I contact a model, I'm like, "Here's everything. I am not asking for payment, and like I don't have money to pay you. This is for practice." And then I go into like, "Do you have any allergies? Are you okay with the time frame that this could take? Because it could take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours." And then like I also let them know, if you don't like it, that is fine. I'll only be butthurt in private. But since I started doing it on other people again, like 2021, I really haven't had any issues, because one of the other things I do now is whenever I come up with a concept, I typically go back and forth with the model being like, "I'm planning on taking inspiration from this, and then getting feedback. And if I have several options, I'll be like, which of these do you think you would want on your face more?" And so like whenever you work with, the people you're putting the makeup on, it kind of just makes any like bad situation kind of fizzle out. Although I did just remember, so this isn't exactly like, anything bad or anything, but it was like an interesting experience, because I went to this that kind of house party with other cosplayers, and we were all just like doing cosplay, taking pictures and all this stuff. But during 2020, I had no creative motivation to make costumes, and so whenever I showed up, I was just like, "Let me put makeup on everybody. I just want to put makeup on everybody." And pretty much everyone was willing, which means I did almost, I think it was like 13 or 14 makeup looks in one day. I woke up at 4 a.m. and my first model sat down at 4:30 or 5, I think. And I just started chugging along. I worked all day long, and then I finally ended the day by doing a makeup look on myself. So
you had the energy to do one on yourself.
I still did. It's funny, once I get into the creative groove, it doesn't drain my energy, it gives me energy.
Now back to full on body paint. Have you ever had to do full body paint on anyone else aside from yourself?
I've only had to help people with full application. I've never had to do, so like the max I've done is like, some of my other friends have done Steven Universe cosplays, or Hell of a Boss more recently. Because one of my friends, like, she does the full like Millie makeup, and I think either me or
that's a lot of red body paint too.
a lot of red. So I've definitely helped with a lot of application, but I've never applied someone's full body paint.
Now speaking of your Hell of a Boss, with I know you did Stolas from Hell of a Boss. How long did he take? Because I know with from your Stolas
So
cosplay,
it's Blitzo that I do.
Blitzo or Blitzy,
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on who you are.
Stolas is the owl, and he's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I had to think about that for a minute. How long did it take you to do Blitzo? Because I'm looking at your Blitzo makeup. It seemed pretty simple, but I'm sure still it took quite a bit.
It's actually, the reason I made it simple is because I didn't want to. I've learned from my years of cosplaying, like I really don't want to wake up earlier than I have to. Sleeping is so good for your health. So his makeup, I want to say, it is simple. It's not very complicated. I think the hardest part is um, I actually didn't do this at the last con I went to because I didn't want to. It was going to take too much time, but he has that like symbol on his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
And I love symmetry, and I'm trying to push myself to like break out of being like, oh, so perfectionist over all the little details. But whenever I start drawing that shape, it is a long process because I'm just very slowly working on my forehead, going like, you better not mess this up. You better not
Um,
mess.
I mean, you're working on a curved surface. It's not like a
Yeah,
flat surface like paper.
exactly. And it's one of those things as well where it's like, I'll use a liquid eyeliner to paint it on, and depending on the brand I'm using, or even just whatever batch of that brand I'm using at the time, it might start leaking, which has happened to me before, where it just like I've gotten it perfect and then suddenly just a glob of liquid makeup just runs down my face and I'm like, cool. So the rework also, I try to factor in time for rework because sometimes I mess up. So I think his makeup probably took me, probably an hour just to factor in the drawing the little symbol in. And I always do a lot of like primer on my face, especially if I'm going to a con, because I don't want it to start looking bad throughout the day. So
Right.
probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half if I'm doing a lot of rework. Because once I was diagnosed with like ADHD and depression and anxiety, my medication makes my hands shake. So it takes me even longer to do makeup now. So everything just takes me a little bit longer.
And there's nothing wrong with it. You want to make sure you get everything right and
Oh yeah, especially
factor
when
in
I
all that
on other
stuff.
people.
Oh no, definitely. Now one thing, now one new question we're gonna start asking artists, whether they be do, whether they draw or makeup. What are some of your favorite special effects makeup looks in movies and TV shows? Like if you have
Oh
any like
god,
favorites.
yeah, I've been obsessed with um fantasy and sci-fi like makeup applications in TV shows and movies since I was little. Um Obsessed with the original Star Wars trilogy. Like I think that's what shaped like my first interest in like special effects. I was obsessed with the Twi'leks.
Oh yeah,
They're
especially their tendrils and everything.
Yes. My first ever costume I made as a kid was Ayla Sakura, and it was so bad.
Yeah, she's got like a definitely like a bluish green teal skin color going on. So I mean, I know
Yes.
imagine
And
trying to
because
make it that color right was not easy.
and because I was a kid, I just bought blue face paint and tried my best. So it wasn't great. It wasn't a good look. But I think Star Wars like really influenced me. And then I think after I went to like high school and college, I was really influenced by the theater makeup that I would see. I loved like making a look bold enough where you can see it from far away, because I love contrast. Um, and then once I watched the Alien films, I'm still obsessed with the Alien films, and like it's not really makeup, but it inspired like the shapes and the like, you know, completely changing how someone looks was really fascinating to me. So I definitely took inspiration from that. Um, and then like 80s music videos, I've always really loved. I love bright colors. And so like seeing like the weird makeups that they'll do in 80s music videos really inspire me as well.
Nice. Yeah, no, looking at the makeup from just from the 80s and 80s pop culture in general. Definitely a lot of bright neon-y type
Yeah,
colors. For
my
sure.
favorite.
Now the one question I really been looking forward to asking, your Mass Effect makeup. What made you want to do makeup based on your squad mates from the Mass Effect series?
Oh man, so Mass Effect lives rent free in my head 24/7. Takes up about like 90% of my processing power, I think, per day. And then like sometimes it's a little less than that because Transformers starts trying to take over. But Mass Effect is very dear to me. Whenever I played through it for the first time, I just like formed emotional attachments to these fictional characters that you got to see through all the games. And then I've always wanted to cosplay them, right? But it seems such a daunting task since they all have like armor or very unique pieces that you'd either have to 3D print or sculpt, or some of
Yeah.
it could be very expensive. And so like I've always wanted to bring these characters to life just because it's a showcase of my love for them, because I love the writing for them. They all just seem so real. Their storytelling is so compelling. I just wanted to bring it to life, and I wish I could cosplay them, but I was like, with the stuff I have on hand, I'm gonna try to make a makeup look that embodies the spirit of the character.
The one that really caught my attention, aside from your not Rex favorite Toad
Thank you.
Boy, favorite Frog Boy all the way.
Let us
Uh
romance Rogans. Let's go.
the two I really actually want to ask you about, because the way how you made your cheeks look thinner were Thane Krios and Garrus Vakarian. How did you go about making your cheeks look your jaw and cheeks look thin to do this? Because anytime I see makeup artists do that, I'm like, how? Like, doesn't matter that it doesn't matter your face shape, but like, how?
Yeah. And what's funny is like I'm thinner now than I was, and like I actually had very like round cheeks at the time. So to get that illusion, I mean, you're just doing what we call contouring. If you're not familiar with the concept, have you heard of like contouring in makeup before?
I've heard, like, watching a bunch of makeup shows, whether it's America's Next
Probably
Top
heard that.
Model. I've heard the term, I just didn't really know what it meant.
Yeah, so typically, like if you're just doing like a natural makeup look, say you're not going for a fantasy look, you'd use your natural like skin tones in various shades to sort of shape your face into the shape you want. So like if you wanted to have more sunken in cheeks, you would add a dark color where it would bow inwards. And so like most people would do like to figure out where that happens on their face, to figure out where to put the shadows. Um, and so you'll put like a dark, and then you'll fade it into like a medium, going up towards your cheekbones, and then you'll put a highlight up there just to like emphasize like, okay, like it's more sunken in than it is in real life. And so that's just like an example of like pushing the cheeks in like in those. And so I use the same concept just with fantasy colors. So I think with Garrus, it was a lot of blues and grays. So I just use like some darker grays, maybe even a little bit of black, but like applied very faintly to give it that contour. And then Thane, again, it was just like dark greens that I moved into medium greens, and then put the highlight on with like either yellows or a very light green.
Nice.
So that's kind of how I give that shape. And that's been my new obsession, is changing how the face looks, through illusion. I think that's such a fun thing.
Now, since you've done like a good chunk of them, do you ever plan on doing um Solus or Samara ever later down the road?
I would love to do every Mass Effect character, all the aliens. But I wonder if my audience would be as enthused to see me do more and more Mass Effect looks.
I mean,
I
it's
think
becoming a lot more popular lately since with the release of the Mass Effect trilogy that came out like a while back, and
I'm
also
so
talks with
excited.
about the fourth one.
I'm so excited, and
Fifth
I'm
one,
so
yeah.
excited that there's this new wave of people getting into these games, because I've been raving about them by myself for a while, and now it's like if I say Mass Effect and I say I'm a fan, like even if people haven't played it, they've heard of it because the Legendary Edition came out, and I'm just like, yes.
I mean, it's more chance for you to do more massive sci-fi Mass Effect themed makeup.
Exactly. I think I would do more if I found some other models who were excited about Mass Effect, because I get enjoyment whenever I can share that with people. Because I think in the future I'm definitely going to do more Mass Effect looks. Samara, especially, like you mentioned her, who love her. I might just do like a series of different Asari, because Arya is my favorite. I would definitely love to do a look of
Arya
Arya.
T'Loak from she has more of a she has more like of a purple.
Yeah, and sometimes
look.
what I do as well is, like, you know, if you have a bunch of people with similar either face structures or similar looks, I will take other parts of their, like, what they're wearing into the makeup look. So for example, I'm trying to think of one where I did this. Oh, so I did a Tali inspired makeup.
I saw that the Korean makeup.
So with that, I wasn't going off of any, you
For
know,
anyone curious, I'm using your Instagram. I'll be showing a full on picture, but that's basically right there.
And that's one of my best friends of all time. She was so patient. But what, you know, I wasn't going off of any idea of what Tali's face looked like. Instead, I looked at the patterns in her hood. I looked at the shapes. Like, she had this like circular kind of almost necklace looking thing in Tali's design.
Yeah,
and so I
Recolo.
Yeah, so I added that as like a head decoration on my model, and then I used the swirls from the hood like in the face. So if I did something for Arya, like, I might look at her outfit and see, okay, like, is there any like shapes that I can pull in to the look? So that's how I'd make them different. And for Samara, I would just bring in more, you know, some of that red contrast, because she's got that really striking red outfit.
Yeah, the red, and yeah, I'm glad that you're doing more of, you know, in the first three Mass Effects, all the Asari look different, and you know, except for the fourth one where they're basically a copy and paste, except for PB, except for PB.
Except for PB.
Now you were you said you worked what's it been like working with other makeup artists on projects?
Oh, I love it, and I want to do it more, because I think one of the best ways I learn is through collaboration. It's like, I've only done it a few times where I've worked with other makeup artists, but it's like, one, you get to learn from the other person, and two, like, you get to feel useful because, like, you're also giving information. And whenever you have more than one person, you can do more than just one person. Like you were saying earlier about you know, the time it takes for one person to do an application. If you have more, like, your possibilities are bigger because you can do more with less time. So I would love to do it more, but I've only done it a couple of times, but it's always an excellent experience.
Nice. Any advice you'd like to give to those who are considered on getting, not just, you know, who are wanting to do full on like body paint, special effects, makeup, not just your, I mean, there's nothing wrong with your standard beauty makeup, because you see a lot of that, but like those who are considering on wanting to do more, like, you know, what you do, or like what you see on TV and in movies and everything. Any advice?
Oh yeah, and that's a great question. I think my first like piece of advice is, with every art, if you haven't done anything like it before, you're going to be bad at it in the beginning. It's not likely, like, some people are prodigies right out the gate, but most likely you're going to be bad at it at first, and you need to give yourself permission to experiment, and just let yourself be bad at it and enjoy the process. And if you can do that, then you can start growing, right? So that would be my first piece of advice. And then my second is, do your first find something that you're really excited about. Find a character that you absolutely love. Like for me, you know, I think I started with Garrus, you know, and because I love Garrus. And then from there, you know, think, what do you want to do next? And if you don't know what you want to do next, ask people who are doing the thing that you want to do, right? So if I'm not sure about something, like, oh, I want to get into, like, how did this person get this look? If you reach out to people and ask, typically they're happy to share knowledge, especially creative people. And then also with everything that's on YouTube now, like you can Google, you know, or like look up on YouTube different you know, how to apply water-based makeup, you know. So finding all those basics is great, but the best experience you can get is finding someone who's doing what you want to do and learn from them. Be willing to be a newbie and just join in on what they're doing.
Some pretty sound advice. Now, one question I kind of ask when I do my when I do the cosplay contact ones, any future makeups you're looking forward to do, whether they just be standard beauty makeup or full on, you know, face paint, special effects, prosthetics, stuff like that.
I'm so sorry that I keep interrupting you. That is my bad.
No, you're perfectly fine.
I have a million ideas that I'm excited about. This is my creative problem is I have lots of ideas and it can be hard for me to settle on one to execute. But I've gotten better about that. So like in this upcoming year, I'm really excited because I want to do a UV makeup look.
Ooh, I've seen a few. Yeah. I've seen quite a few of those, especially like on TikTok and some people I follow on Instagram. They do like that black light makeup where it looks better when you know you have a UV light, but when you turn it on, it just
so like cool I really want to do something like that. In my head, I've got this idea. I have some people I've been talking to in like the Houston area, and like we're friends, but I never really get to see them. So I'm planning on like going out, like making kind of a set or you know something maybe like you know small like this, and getting just like black lights, and then applying like kind of again 80s inspired because that's what makes me excited. Just like block shapes and stuff. And I'm going to do like maybe primary colors, like do a primarily red base, primarily blue, and then primarily yellow, and do like individual shots and group shots. I think that would be really exciting. I've never really gotten to play with UV paint except on myself, and it's been like nothing I've taken pictures of. It's just been like, I'm gonna try this. Okay, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna take it off now. So I'd love to push myself to make something impressive with that. And then I'm also excited because I am doing a kind of casual collab coming up where I'm gonna do Monster High looks.
That's showing my age right there.
Yeah. And like I'll be honest, like I don't know anything about Monster High. But whenever I saw an open call for a collab, I was like looking at the
I said take it, you know.
Yeah, and I started looking at the characters and I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. It's like exaggerated and they're monsters, and like absolutely I'm gonna do the ones that are the least known and make them just like really crazy looking. So I'm excited about that.
Nice. I think that should about cover it. Again, Vespid, thank you for coming on for this special segment for knowing that artist and talking about the makeups you've done, everything. Anything last you'd like to add in before we end this?
I want to say I really appreciate you for having me. This was really fun. And I guess the last thing I want to say before I say goodbye is before you think about like, like worrying about who's going to see my art and all this, remember just to do it first for yourself. Because that's when you're going to have fun, and that's when you're going to just like get the skill, as you're practicing. Do something you enjoy. And that'll just make your life as a creative person so much better. And this goes to anyone, even people who aren't creative or don't think they're creative, because in my mind, humans are meant to create, even if they're not monetizing it, even if it's not being shown publicly. Like try new stuff. It's good for you.
I know. And also real quick shout out to Ojabana for recommending you for this podcast interview. I want to go shout out that. So yeah, again, thank you. And as always, thank you for listening to this episode of Geeking Out. I'm Wendy Unknown. Until next time, thank you for watching.